Street light dripping on the taxi window, your reflection dancing next to mine. Every little silence felt electric, like the city knew before we did tonight. Coffee stains and blurry conversations, half awake beneath fluorescent skies. You were laughing with your tired eyes open, like you carry stones you tried to hide. I remember every tiny movement, how your fingers brushed against your sleeve, how the music from the corner station turned the midnight air to something sweet. We were strangers in a moving picture, floating slow inside a crowded train. But the moment that you softly looked up, nothing ever sounded quite the same. Maybe this was accidental, maybe fate just missed the sign. But the way your voice kept lingering made the whole world realign. Take me through your velvet orbit, pull me closer slowly now. Every heartbeat feels cinematic, every word becomes a cloud. If tomorrow disappears without warning, I would still replay tonight. Spinning through your velvet orbit, under purple satellite lights. Rain began to fall around the station, tiny diamonds breaking on the street. You were talking about distant oceans, like escape was hidden underneath. I kept watching all your quiet habits, the way you leaned against the cold, like your soul was built from faded records and stories nobody else was told. The hours moved like smoke inside the city, neon rivers glowing blue and gold. Every passing stranger felt transparent, while your voice kept rapping through my soul. Maybe love begins inside the smallest, almost invisible details first. Maybe all this loneliness between us only made the moment feel worse. Every time you moved beside me, something fragile came alive, like a universe expanding somewhere deep behind my eyes. Take me through your velvet orbit, pull me closer slowly now. Every heartbeat feels cinematic, every word becomes a cloud. If tomorrow disappears without warning, I would still replay tonight. Spinning through your velvet orbit, under purple satellite lights. Maybe we were always moving toward this. Maybe every empty train before led me through the sleepless intersections, just to find your shadow at my door. And I know the city never pauses, everyone keeps vanishing by dawn. But the warmth inside your quiet breathing feels like somewhere I already belong. Tell me all the things you never mentioned, tell me every dream you locked away. I could stay awake until the morning, listening to every word you say. Even if the future keeps on changing, even if we disappear in time, there's a universe inside this moment, and somehow tonight it feels like mine. Take me through your velvet orbit, let the whole world fade to black. Every second with you pulls me deeper, and you know there's no way back. If the sunrise breaks apart this feeling, I will still remember why. We were floating through a velvet orbit, under endless neon skies. Take me through you, hold me in your gravity. Every lonely road I used to walk on somehow led you back to me. Even if the city keeps on moving, even if the stars collide, we were written in a velvet orbit, burning softly through the night. Street lights fading into morning, your reflection next to mine. Velvet orbit, slowly turning one last time. Checked into a cheap motel at midnight, broken neon buzzing overhead. You were wearing yesterday's expression, half exhausted, tangled in my bed. Outside the highway kept on breathing, cars like distant waves against the dark. And somewhere underneath the silence, I could hear the shaking in your heart. You said you hated temporary feelings, hated people leaving without warning. But your voice became unusually softer, while the sky was slowly turning stormy. I was tracing circles on the blanket, trying not to ask you what was wrong, 'cause every fragile thing inside the room felt like it barely knew how to hold on. We were hiding from the daylight, from the versions of ourselves that we only showed to strangers when nobody else could tell. Blue motel, hearts keep breaking slowly under flickering fluorescent skies. You and I pretending we are fearless, while the loneliness survives. If the morning takes away this feeling, if we vanish with the dawn, blue motel hearts will still remember how we held each other when it stormed. Your perfume mixed with smoke and static, tiny echoes filling up the room. Every glance between us felt unfinished, like a song refusing to conclude. I kept listening to your nervous breathing as the television glowed in blue, and I realized every road before this was somehow always leading me to you. Maybe we were born to be temporary, maybe all good things disappear, but the warmth inside your tired laughter may forever suddenly feel near. Outside the rain was getting heavier, windows trembling from the storm. Still your fingers softly finding mine felt safer than anything before. There were ghosts inside the hallway, there were storms outside the door, but the way you said my name that night made me want a little more. Blue motel, hearts keep breaking slowly under flickering fluorescent skies. You and I pretending we are fearless, while the loneliness survives. If the morning takes away this feeling, if we vanish with the dawn, blue motel hearts will still remember how we held each other when it stormed. Tell me every place you tried escaping, every city that could never heal. Tell me why your eyes look full of oceans every time I try to stay unreal. I could spend forever in the silence, listening to headlights pass outside. Watching shadows moving on the ceiling, while your heartbeat trembles next to mine. Maybe broken people of the deepest, maybe sadness sharpens every spark, 'cause the way your soul keeps touching mine tonight feels brighter than the boulevard lights in the dark. And if tomorrow tears apart this moment, if the daylight turns us back to ghosts, I'll still remember every detail of the night I almost loved you most. Blue motel, hearts still beating softly through the static of the afterglow. Every memory keeps overflowing like a river moving slow. If the sunrise leaves us disconnected, if your shadow disappears, blue motel hearts will keep repeating everything we almost said right here. Blue stays unfinished. Even if we drift apart, there will always be a blue motel echo living somewhere in my heart. Buzzing through the silence, rain collapsing down the glass. Blue motel, heart still glowing long after midnight passed. City noise was bleeding through the curtains. Morning never really reached the room. We were somewhere bitching, sleeping sadness, floating underneath the silver moon. You kept scrolling through forgotten messages, like they still could change your state of mind. I kept watching every tiny movement, trying hard to memorize the light. Empty bottles lined along the counter, songs we never finished playing low. Everything between us felt unstable, like static trying hard to bloom. Still the air around your body pulled me, like gravity inside a dream. And the closer that I moved beside you, the less reality could intervene. We were drifting through the after hours, like satellites without control. Every touch became another signal, traveling directly through my soul. Static bloom inside the darkness, electric flowers in your eyes. Every little broken feeling turns to color in the night. Even when the city loses power, even when the silence grows, you and I become a static bloom. Only midnight really knows. You said love was just a temporary fever, something people mean to kill the cold. But the way your hands were softly shaking made the truth impossible to hold. Outside the traffic moved like rivers, streaming in the sleep below, while your breathing filled the empty apartment with a warmth I didn't want to lose. Maybe we were both emotionally reckless, maybe that's what made it feel alive. Every conversation felt cinematic, like a scene too beautiful to survive. I kept hearing tiny thunder in my chest every time you whisper low, and the loneliness I carried for so long finally began to loosen its hold. Every shadow in the bedroom started looking soft and gold, while the distance between strangers slowly disappeared in smoke. Static blooming inside the darkness, electric flowers in your eyes. Every little broken feeling turns to color in the night. Even when the city loses power, even when the silence grows, you and I become a static bloom. Only midnight really knows. Only midnight really knows. Only midnight really knows. Maybe healing isn't loud or obvious, maybe it begins in tiny ways, like the softness of your tired expression or your voice at 4 a.m. And I know we both arrived here damaged, carrying invisible storms, but the way your soul keeps touching mine tonight makes the chaos suddenly feel warm. Tell me all the dreams you stopped believing, tell me every part you tried to hide. I could stay awake until the morning and listening with your hand inside mine, 'cause somewhere underneath the noise and static, underneath the fear of being alone, there's a version of ourselves still glowing, begging not to be alone. Static bloom across the skyline, through the haze of sleepless nights. Every scar becomes a constellation under artificial lights. Even if tomorrow feels uncertain, even if the feeling goes, you and I were once a static bloom, and that alone still glows. Static bloom forever, flickering inside every song I hear. Tiny pieces of you good dancing in the kitchen barefoot. 3 a.m. and nowhere left to go. Tiny lights reflected off the counter, painting silver rivers on the floor. You kept laughing like you feared the silence, like the quiet might expose too much. So I pulled you closer through the static, trying not to shake beneath your touch. Every second felt unusually vivid, like the air was burning underneath. And the songs coming from the speaker sounded softer than they used to be. Outside the world kept spinning endlessly, but the room became its own dimension, where your tired eyes and half smile slowly turned my heart beating to pure obsession. You moved closer through the afterlight, like a fever through my veins, and suddenly the lonely city didn't feel the same. Afterlife fever pulling me under, every glance ignites the dark. Your voice echoes through my bloodstream like a song without an end or start. Even if tomorrow breaks the picture, even if the feeling fades, I would still relive this afterlife fever for the rest of my days. Your jacket hanging near the doorway smelled like rain and faded smoke. Every tiny detail in the apartment began to shimmer while you spoke. You said maybe we were both pretending not to fall this fast tonight, but your fingers trembling in my hoodie made it impossible to lie. I was disappear without permission, morning almost rising through the glass. Still the universe around you breathing made me wish the night could last. Maybe love begins inside exhaustion, inside vulnerable mistakes. That the closer that I move beside you, the more awake my whole soul became. Every shadow turned cinematic, every silence felt alive, like the world outside the window couldn't touch us for the night. Afterlife fever pulling me under, every glance ignites the dark. Your voice echoes through my bloodstream like a song without an end or start. Even if tomorrow breaks the picture, even if the feeling fades, I would still relive this afterlife fever for the rest of my days. Maybe this was never meant forever, maybe all bright things collapse too soon. But there's something in the way you hold me that makes temporary feel true. And I know we both are full of damage, full of memories we never heal. Still your heartbeat underneath my fingers feels more honest than anything real. Tell me every fear you carry quietly, every dream that disappeared too fast. I could spend the rest of this whole lifetime trying to protect what never lasts. Cause somewhere in the middle of the city, between exhaustion and desire, you became the only thing still glowing, like the final spark before the fire. Afterlife fever in the morning, still surviving through the haze. Every memory keeps replaying like a film that never fades. Even if we lose each other later, even if the skyline changes shape, I will always carry afterlife fever burning softly in my veins. Afterlife fever pulling me deeper, through the ruins of the dark. Every lonely version of my past self disappears inside your arms. Even when the city falls to silence, even when the lights all die, there will always be an afterlife fever somewhere underneath my sky. Kitchen lights and fading echoes, morning rising pale and slow. Afterlife fever glowing, long after you let go. You were standing underneath the station, blue light washing softly on your face, looking like the ending of a movie nobody was ready to replace. Every word between us sounded fragile, like thin glass trembling in the cold. And the silence stretching through the platform felt heavier than what we never told. People moved around us without noticing, the universe collapsing in slow motion. I kept trying hard to stay composed while every heartbeat flooded with emotion. You said maybe time was the problem, maybe we arrived too late to heal. But the sadness hidden in your whisper made the goodbye feel too real. Every train became a warning, every second hurt to breathe. Cause the closer that the night moved forward, the less I wanted you to leave. Glass heart cinema, playing every memory again. You and I in slow motion, trying not to reach the end. Even if the credits start rolling, even if the lights grow dim, I will still replay our glass heart cinema again and again and again. Again and again and again. Rain reflected all across the pavement, turning every color into smoke. You were staring somewhere past the traffic, like your soul already learned to go. I kept memorizing tiny details, the curve your tired smile used to make. Cause I knew the moment you stepped forward, everything inside me might break. Maybe love survives inside remembering sad songs and late night drives alone. Maybe heartbreak only means somebody finally became a place called home. Still the distance slowly growing wide, it felt impossible to understand when your hand slipped softly from our fingers, like disappearing grains of sand. Every sound became distorted, every light began to blur. Cause the future without you inside it suddenly became a hurt. Glass heart cinema, playing every memory again. You and I in slow motion, trying not to reach the end. Even if the credits start rolling, even if the lights grow dim, I will still replay our glass heart cinema again and again and again. Tell me how to stop the world from changing, tell me how to hold on to the night. Cause the version of myself beside you finally felt beautiful and alive. Then I know eventually the city will erase the footprints in the rain, but your laughter echoing inside me will forever leave a stain. Maybe we were never built forever, maybe nothing glowing truly stays. Still I choose every fragile second, even knowing how the story breaks. Cause somewhere underneath the sadness, underneath the fear of being hurt, there was something painfully electric about the way your soul touched mine first. Glass heart cinema, still flickering through the silence in my room. Every frame becomes a constellation underneath the afternoon. Even if another love finds me, even if the years begin, I will still remember our glass heart cinema again and again. Glass heart cinema, in the rainfall, in the stations, in the songs. Every lonely midnight carries tiny pieces of us on. Even when the movie finally fades out, even when the screen turns black, there will always be a glass heart cinema calling softly from the past. Last train disappearing slowly, blue lights fading into rain. Glass heart cinema still remains. Morning sunlight touched the empty glasses, left from conversations through the night. You were sleeping softly by the window, wrapped inside the pale gold light. For the first time in forever, maybe. My chest finally loosened its hold, like the universe had quietly whispered I didn't have to feel so cold. Outside the city kept on moving, people running through another day. Still the warmth inside this tiny apartment made the noise all fade away. You woke slowly with a tired smile, hair falling loosely by your face, and suddenly the ordinary moment turned beautiful inside the space. Maybe healing sounds like laughter at 11 in the day. Maybe love is something gentle that doesn't need to beg you to stay. You feel warm like static, soft electricity in my veins. Every lonely part inside me learns to breathe again. Even when the clouds keep changing, even when the skyline moves, you feel warm like static, like a song pulling me through. We spent hours driving near the river, windows down against the summer heat. Every little song upon the radio felt strangely written about me. You were talking about future cities, places we might never really see. Still the softness in your quiet dreaming made the impossible feel near to me. Maybe peace was always hidden inside moments people overlook, like your fingers drumming on the dashboard, or the way you laugh while reading books. And the loneliness that once consumed me started fading little by little, 'cause your presence turned the world around me into somewhere soft and simple. Every road became familiar, every silence felt alive, like my heart remembered something it had almost left behind. You feel warm like static, soft electricity in my veins. Every lonely part inside me learns to breathe again. Even when the clouds keep changing, even when the skyline moves, you feel warm like static, like a song pulling me through. Maybe love was never fireworks, maybe it was always something small, like the comfort of your breathing nearby, or hearing your footsteps through the hall. And I know the world remains uncertain, people vanish every single day. Still the tenderness inside your presence makes me wanna choose to stay. Tell me every future you imagine, tell me every dream you still protect. I could spend forever learning slowly every fragile thing about your head, 'cause somewhere between all the noise and chaos, between exhaustion and regret, you became the quiet kind of healing I never thought I'd get. You feel warm like static in the corners of my mind. Every broken memory before you starts dissolving over time. Even if tomorrow turns uncertain, even if the seasons move, you will always feel like static warmth pulling me back to you. Warm like static in the evening, through the traffic and the rain. Every lonely road I used to walk on doesn't hurt the same. Even when the whole world keeps on changing, even when the years drift through, you will always feel warm like static inside every part of me and you. Summer air against the windows, city glowing soft and blue. Warm like static lingering long after afternoon. Sunrise melting through the apartment, dust like gold across the floor. Last night's song still softly echoing from the speaker near the door. You were half awake beside the window, watching colors slowly bloom. And for once the silence didn't hurt me, it just filled the room. Every moment from the night before this played like film behind my eyes. Taxi lights and rain across the highways, sleepless conversations undisguised. All the loneliness I carried years through started fading with the dawn, like the universe kept turning gently, saying maybe life goes on. We survived another midnight, another version of of ourselves, and somehow the broken pieces didn't disappear. Dawn on cassette, every memory spinning warm and slow. Tiny moments sounding softer than they ever did before. Even if the tape keeps wearing thinner, even if the years move on, I will always hear your voice inside my dawn. Coffee brewing in the quiet kitchen, morning traffic underneath the clouds. You were humming pieces of a melody, barely even singing loud. Still the sound became another reason for my heart to stay awake, 'cause the tenderness inside your presence made the ordinary shake. Maybe happiness is temporary, maybe nothing beautiful can stay. Still the warmth we build across the darkness will not fully fade away. Outside the city kept on rushing forward, neon ghosts becoming day. But inside the room we built together, time itself began slow. Every scar became a signal, every tear became a light, leading all the lonely versions of ourselves back through the night. Dawn on cassette, every memory spinning warm and slow. Tiny moments sounding softer than they ever did before. Even if the tape keeps wearing thinner, even if the years move on, I will always hear your voice inside my dawn. Maybe someday, maybe someday we will lose each other. Maybe distance changes everything, but the version of myself beside you finally learned how to breathe again. And I know the world is always shifting, cities changing shape beneath the rain. Still the love we build across these nights will forever leave its trace. Tell me every dream you still believe in, every place your heart still wants to go. I could spend forever driving slowly through the afterglow with you alone. 'Cause somewhere between the fear and sadness, between exhaustion and desire, we became a small surviving universe, still glowing